It's 5 after. I know there's some people who are still going to be coming in and all of the things, but I'm going to start off. So let's start off with everybody here. Hello, I'm Marissa. Everybody here, type in the chat box where you're coming from and where you're at right now, either or. Let us know where you are in the world, because I know people are coming from all different time zones. Florida, Kansas City, New York, fun. I'm in Southern Utah. And there's also a bunch of people who are going to be catching the recording for this. So those of you guys who are catching a recording, we love you. We're excited for you. All of the different things. St. George, other people in St. George, how exciting. Amazing. So I'm just going to jump on in. It's been a while since I've ran one of these, but I'm very excited to be running it. My name is Marissa, and I own Grounding Source. It's this wonderful company that we'll get into a little bit further down the line, but our main goal with Grounding Source is to support women in their stress and their burnout and learning new tactics, as well as supporting them to truly start healing. But let's start off. Hold on, let me work with technology. Can everybody see the screen share? Like, is it fully on your screen? And either give me a thumbs up or a yes. Great news. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. One time I was running one of these and like the screen that I was sharing was like halfway off apparently. And they're like, it's not actually advancing. I was like, oh my God, who knew? But my name is Marissa and I am a wilderness professional first. That's the first thing that I fell in love with back when I was 12 years old. I started going on these wilderness canoeing camp trips based in northern Minnesota, and these trips truly changed my life. I found a deep, deep love for nature, and it was just so remarkable to me how powerful I felt. I mean, I was a kid, I was a teenager going on these amazing trips that were like lengthy, like over a month long, and those trips truly made me feel like so empowered, so excited, so into myself, so like not in like a but not like in a I'm into myself way, but in a like just like knowing that I could do anything. And that energy followed me through college. It followed me through once I graduated college, and I have continued to work in the wilderness in a lot of different ways. And the biggest thing that I found with nature is how powerfully it heals us. If I am incredibly stressed out, the easiest thing that I can do is go on a walk in nature. And without a doubt, every single time I feel lighter and I get clarity. It's like going for a run, doing these little things that we're going to talk more about why they work and give you more tactics about more things that you can do, but they do work. So that's my basis. That's my background. After spending years doing trips on my own, I worked in multiple different companies. A major one was based in wilderness therapy. Wilderness therapy itself was incredibly powerful for me, and I got to work with some really amazing therapists that work with some of the hardest, most challenging clients, and I got to learn a lot from them. And then I went on to learning a lot more about burnout through my own personal research over the years. So I'm going to start off by just sharing really quickly how Grounding Source supports other folks other than these burnout workshops. The first way that we support folks is with the Solitude Live event. That's a 3-day event based out here in Southern Utah. And it's based around a wilderness solo experience. I'll share more about that later on, but just that's the first time. The second thing that we do is an online course. This is 6 weeks long, and it can be go at your own pace, and it does have the opportunity to also have one-on-one coaching with myself. During that course, there is curriculum online and all of these other things, but basically the online course is based around getting to the root cause of your burnout. And I'll go more into that later because that's not what we're all here about exactly. So the last thing, everybody here and everybody online, everybody who watches this and sees this is entitled to a free one-on-one grounding call. On these grounding calls, there's a few things that we do. Is we learn more about where you're at on your own journey with your stress and your burnout. We get your spring 2022. Sorry, I can't say that right now for some reason. It was confusing in my mouth. But get your spring 2022 plan started. So really get yourself ready for this next season. And I mean, almost the summer. Feels like spring, but it is spring, but it's going to be summer. So really plan out what you can do to create change. Talk about how we might be able to help you and tell you exactly what that can look like to work together. So, what is burnout? Burnout is something that everybody here knows. We all we hear it over and over and over again. There's a New York Times article written almost every week about people being burnt out, millennials being burnt out, older, everybody is burnt out. Every different group is burnt out. Healthcare professionals, just a lot of people are struggling, coming out of a pandemic, being in a pandemic, working from home, realizing that our jobs are really intense. This is all leading people to understand what burnout is deeper. But burnout itself does have key characteristics that we can identify. And if we can identify them before they become too much of an issue, then we can start to heal them in more holistic ways. Sometimes our burnout is too far, and sometimes burnout leads to depression and anxiety that is at a more clinical level. And if you are at that level, it's really important that you find support with a clinician that can help you, a really good therapist, something along those lines as well. But there's also a lot of folks who aren't quite at that level, or maybe they're at that level and they need this. So burnout is characterized by these three things, which is depersonalization, a decreased sense of accomplishment, and emotional exhaustion. We're going to go deeper into those causes on the next slide. But I want to talk specifically about how men's and women's burnout is different, because it's so important and oftentimes not validated. It's starting to become more and more validated as time goes on. But these are the main reasons why our burnout is different. Women have been socialized over time to be pretty happy, calm, generous, attentive to the needs of others. This is part of a bigger phenomena called human giver syndrome. We're not going to go into that specifically here. If you want to know more about that, I can point you towards resources. And also we work more in depth on that. But what that means is that women have to perform differently in their work environments. So we are not only managing the stress of work, we're managing how we're presenting at work and making sure we're feeling respected, making sure we are respected, making sure we don't get too loud or too quiet. And this doesn't just apply to the work environment. This also applies to our home environments. When we're at home, I have seen example after example of women feeling like they need to fight appropriately. They can't be emotional and get their emotions out when they're even fighting with their partner, because then their partner is not going to take them seriously and their partner is going to write off their emotions. And that's not fair. Women need to also be able to express our emotions, which we're going to get deeper into. Another reason that men and women's burnout is different is based around purpose and meaning. Purpose and meaning, what that looks like is women haven't been taught to find purpose and meaning in things outside of giving to others. We are supposed to, this is a larger social phenomena. This is like a social construct, something that's out there. It may or may not affect you personally, and this is a thing that's out there and it probably is affecting you in some way or another. Even if you are the strongest, most powerful woman, which I feel so empowered, and I still struggle with a lot of these pieces. So purpose and meaning, what that means is that we haven't been taught basically to be able to go out and find these things. We're supposed to find it within the household, within helping others, as opposed to oftentimes men are taught to find purpose and meaning in their work. They're supposed to go out and find all these deep, amazing things. They're supposed to go into the woods and go hunt, go fish, go do all of this and go be a person. And women are supposed to be a person for other people. There's a difference there. And I can get deeper into that, but not today specifically. And the last thing is our expectations. We expect more from women. Women have to do more to be seen as doing the same. And I would imagine almost everybody here, raise your hand, say, yes, I agree. If you have felt that you've had to work harder or differently for a very similar response to like in the work, at home. Oftentimes we're doing significantly more work in the home and it's being seen as 50% when really it's 80%. Really, you're doing 90%. Yes, exactly. You know that the doctor's appointments need to get made. Your husband forgot that the kids even need to go to the doctor. Like all of those little things are very real, and really weigh on us and affect our burnout and our stress. So I'm going to go into the causes of burnout and we'll dive the deepest into emotional exhaustion, which is why it's the biggest, because that one's the one that affects women the strongest. So depersonalization, this is the one that we see happening in men the most often. This is how they experience burnout. And that is the depletion of empathy, caring, and compassion. Just disassociating from whatever it is. They're not going to care. They're not going to dive into that deeper anymore. They're like, it's whatever, it's work, it's this, it's not that. Decreased sense of accomplishment. This is when we see really heavy in healthcare workers and in teachers. Hold on. I'm not sure if you're moving a new slide or if I can only see the first slide. Just in case, since you mentioned it earlier, is there a slide? Great. Exactly what I wanted. Yes, because this one, okay. And we're back. So we did have this one. Okay. Thank you, team. I appreciate it. This has happened to me before. I don't know why it doesn't advance on this one. The same, whatever. But regardless, we're here. Great. So the causes of burnout, and we're back. Great. The decreased sense of accomplishment, the feeling as though nothing you do matters. And this, yeah, like I was saying, this shows up in healthcare workers and teachers a lot. What this looks like is it's like continuously going up against a wall. It's like when the healthcare workers, when they've been like fighting the same fight and nothing is getting better, and it just is so hard to do. Teachers, they're not feeling the support that they need, and they are just exhausted by the kids and by the parents and by the school system. Oftentimes this even happens at home with our relationships, like just feeling as though like you're gonna have the same fight with your partner. So why even try? Why even like think about trying to change something? So that one's decreased sense of accomplishment. And then the last one is emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion is doing too much for too long. We're going to go into this now. So emotional exhaustion, in order to understand that, we have to understand emotion a little bit deeper. And there's in this wonderful book where I learned a lot of this information from, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, by Amelia and Emily Nagoski. They reference an emotional tunnel. And if you think about it, like every single emotion we experience is a tunnel. And that tunnel can be really short and that tunnel can be really long. Regardless, it's a tunnel. And burnout happens when we get stuck in the tunnel. So what that means is actually the easiest way to think about this is to think about a small child. Small child, maybe you take their toy away, something like that. Like the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their life has happened. You've taken their toy away, which I mean, honestly, kind of rough, especially when you haven't had that many things happen to you yet. They go full on into a cry and they just fully experience their emotion. And then like 3 minutes later, they're completely fine. Have you guys all seen this before? You can do a hand raise or a yes in the chat regardless. But yeah, exactly. So with this emotional tunnel, what we're doing is we have to get all the way through it. We have to get to the light on the other side. Oftentimes women, we are not getting all the way through the tunnel. And it's not just women, this is everybody. We feel an experience and maybe it's not safe to fully feel that emotion right there. Maybe you were in a meeting at work and something really irritated you. Somebody was really being a jerk. And they said something just crappy. They said a crappy thing that made you feel emotions. And there's no safe place to truly feel that emotion. So what we do is we move on. And what we're not doing is completing the cycle of that emotion. So we get stuck in multiple emotional tunnels. And what that does is it leads to emotional exhaustion, which is one of the leading causes of burnout, especially around women. So we're going to talk about the difference between stress and a stressor. This is super essential for our purposes because completing a stress cycle is not fixing a stressor, but it is essential to our bodies and helping our bodies feel at rest. Fixing our stressors is a bigger picture thing. So stress is the neurological, physiological response. This is something that you don't get to choose whether or not you feel. You finish your taxes or you're being chased by a lion, your body is going into the same stress response. And it was developed to keep us safe. There's a lot of different things that happen during a stress response, which we're going to go into. But the basics are stress is a physiological thing. It's happening regardless of whether or not you want it to. Stressor is the actual trigger itself. This is the jerk at work. This is the project you have to work on. This is your kid pulling at your leg while you're also trying to do the dishes, while you're also on the phone trying to navigate a bunch of different things. So let's start off with, have everybody here, what is the first stressor that comes to mind? And type it in the chat. And this could be too much screen time, a lot of time at work, your fight that you keep having with your partner. Everybody type at least one stressor into the chat box. And we'll give you guys a minute. Money, that's a huge stressor. Work, yes, a huge stressor. And they're both hard things to control. They're both going to happen either way. Juggling too many tasks at once. Yes, relatable. Conflict in relationships. Oof. Yes, that one's a heavy hitter too. That one's really deep to the soul. State of the world right now? Absolutely. Just like a chronic stressor hanging over our heads, trying to get too many things done at once. Oh man, I am such a victim of myself with that one. I will make this big list and then I'll try to do 10 different things at once as opposed to like doing one thing at a time. I'm trying to get better at that, personal things. Amazing. Thanks everybody for sharing what your stressors are. That really helps. So as far as stress, stressors, blah, blah, blah. Why do we have stressors? Stressors come up because we're struggling to find boundaries. And we're going to touch so briefly on boundaries. This is really, really brief. But it's a really important piece. And it's a really important note. Is why is it hard to create and hold boundaries? Like, raise your hand or type yes if you have struggled to hold a boundary in your lifetime. Because yes, I have. Yes, exactly. Never. Exactly. It's hard holding boundaries. And one of the largest pieces, and I am taking this from Brene Brown because I thought it was a beautiful piece that she talked about, is boundaries are changing the way that you interact in a relationship. And what that means is that you've already, with every single relationship that you are currently in, you have already put a standard as to what you will accept and what you will give. That's what the relationship is at. And when you change that, you are fundamentally changing the basis of that relationship and how that person is allowed to interact with you and how you are going to interact with that person. And that is hard. The biggest thing that it brings up is envy and self-frustration. It's envy in some ways for the other person or for ourselves. When we see somebody else holding a boundary, like maybe they're deciding that their time is really valuable and they're not going to accept calls after 5 p.m. ever. And that is powerful. And if you've been accepting calls till 7 p.m. your entire career and never even thought that you were even allowed to hold that boundary, you might think, well, who the heck are you to like do this? Do you think you're that important? Whatever. But what that really means is I'm jealous because I don't want to be taking calls this time and I want to be done with the work. And it's a challenging emotion to wrestle with. And it makes us frustrated with ourselves. It's like, I could have been doing that and I didn't know I could. So the stress cycle, this is like the craziest thing that I learned that blew my mind and hopefully will help change a lot of things. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, when we're talking about the difference between stress and a stressor, stress, this is a physiological thing that is happening in your body, regardless of what you're doing. So like you guys mentioned, what are your stressors? So the state of the world, trying to get too many things done at once, conflict in relationships, juggling tasks at once. Each of you guys who said something in your own personal notebook or in your mind right now, think of a really specific stressor. Like it could be something that happened today. Likely, I would be shocked if you guys didn't have a single stressor that happened today. This could be like you got frustrated with your partner first thing in the morning because they didn't make the bed the right way. That happened to me. This could be a really weird conversation that you had. This could be like your boss asking a lot of you, but think of a really specific stressor. And then once you're ready, give me a thumbs up or a yes. And after a couple people give me a thumbs up, I will move forward on the stress cycle. Awesome. Awesome. Great. So you have your specific stressor. When you felt that stress, regardless of what you were doing, your body did this. Epinephrine acts instantly to push more blood into your muscles. That's why we get kind of warm when we get stressed out sometimes. Endorphins help you ignore discomfort. So if you think of times that you're stressed, you might not feel your pain as highly as you would. And then later on, you're like, oh man, back hurts, or like this hurts or that hurts. Your heart beats faster. Your heart beats faster and your blood is pumping harder. And that's why high blood pressure is associated with stress. Because once your body goes into a stress response, your heart is going to beat faster. Doesn't matter. You breathe more quickly. Your muscles get tense. This is why we have chronic neck pain or shoulder pain. If you're out there, hi, we have a support group. We're working through it. Our sensitivity to pain diminishes when we're in a stress response. This is really easily shown if you think about if you have to do anything physical that's stressful. Like maybe you've had to like run away from something at some point in your life, or you've just been, I don't know. But it was created so that if you were running away from a lion, that if you wouldn't feel pain and you would survive. So your sensitivity to pain diminishes. Your attention is on alert and you're focusing on short-term here and now thinking. What that means is your brain isn't thinking well, like you're only going to be able to make here and now decisions until you complete your stress cycle. Your senses are heightened, and to maximize your body's efficiency in this state, your other organ systems are deprioritized. So what that means is your digestion slows. That's why we gain weight when we're stressed. Our immune function shifts. Oftentimes this shows up in the fact that we are really, really healthy, and then we do the stressful thing, like you turn in a big project and then like the next week you get really sick. That's happened to anybody? Hello? This is why. And your growth and tissue repair decreases, as well as your reproductive functioning. This is a really huge part of, I don't know everything about infertility, but I do know that stress is absolutely related to it. And it's related to it because your reproductive system is simply not important when you're in a state of stress. And your body is like, you're being chased by a lion, even though like you're at a computer, like working, your body's like, no, we're being chased by a lion. We can't like reproduce right now. And you just don't heal as quickly. If we get injured, we're gonna stay injured for longer. So all of that doom and gloom about the stress cycle. Actually, I'm gonna go back for a second before we move on to here. Does anybody have any questions on these? This is like a big page of a bunch of things, and you guys are all going to also get in a follow-up email this information in a little handout. So, but anybody have any questions here as far as the stress cycle goes? So this is happening. We want this to not be happening. We want to be able to function well. How long can the cycle last? Amazing question. So this is we can be stuck in a lot of different cycles. And especially when we're burnt out or stressed chronically, we might be stuck. And we have to start completing the stress cycle, which is what we're going to go into next. And you probably are doing some things to complete your stress cycle periodically, but maybe not to the extent that you need to. So it can last anywhere from like a minute to multiple days to multiple weeks to months and years, depending on your own personal state. I think most people are on the shorter end. We're not as stuck, but some people who have chronic like bodily function things, like people will get all sorts of like sicknesses in their actual physical body. And that's usually, that's when they haven't been completing their stress cycle. So completing our stress cycle, this is like the most important thing that you can take away from today, is every day, as often as you can, if you can every day, and if you can't do it every day, please don't stress about completing your stress cycle. Not the point. Like that is not the goal here. Is we're not stressing about completing our stress cycle, but these are the ways that actually complete your stress cycle. In our society, we think about self-care as taking baths and going to the spa and like all of these other things, but those don't actually help us complete our stress cycle. They might help us relax, but they're not helping our body get out of that state of stress. So to do that, moving your body for 30 to 60 minutes. This is the most effective way to complete your stress cycle. Like by and large, moving your body. This can be going for a walk. This can be running. This can be dancing. This can be swimming. This can be playing a game with your kids. Like this can be tensing up all of your muscles and then relaxing them. One of the most stressful things that most people do every single day of their lives is the commute. The commutes are just one of the most stressful things that people interact with. And before you come into your house, a really great way to just quickly let go of some stress is to tense up every single muscle that you can for like just a few seconds and then release it. And do that a couple times. Or just like shake your body. You'll notice this in dogs or in deer or just like animals. They're really good at completing their stress cycle. If you ever almost hit a deer and then it gets to the other side and then it like shakes its butt and like shakes its whole body and moves on with its life. Has anybody seen that? Raise your hand, say yes. Yeah. Also my dog will do this. If she's like feeling stress and then at the end of feeling stress, she'll shake her whole body. That's her automatically completing our stress cycle. As adults, we've trained ourselves out of that. It's just the reality. So moving your body, most effective way to complete your stress cycle. Not always an option, not always something we can do. Other effective ways are breathing exercises, doing 5 deep breaths, doing some box breaths, just really basic breathing exercises. There's a few that I teach in the online course. In the online course, one of the main goals is to give you guys resources, give you guys things that we can do to help ourselves. And a really basic breathing exercise is breathing in 2, 3, 4, holding at the top for 4 seconds, and then letting it go for 4 seconds. And doing a few cycles of that can be a really powerful way to complete your stress cycle. Positive social interaction. And this doesn't have to be with somebody you even know. This can be in the checkout line at the grocery store and having a nice conversation with the person there, but just a positive social interaction with really anybody. It could be your neighbor just saying, hey, your flowers look great. My neighbor has really good flowers. It's a really cool thing about our neighborhood. But yeah, laughter is an incredible way to complete your stress cycle. And this doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be in relation to the stressor. So maybe you're stressed out about a project at work. You can go home and watch your favorite stand-up comedy and like belly laugh. This can't be like polite laugh, like you're at an event and you're like, ha ha ha, that person's kind of funny. Like it has to be like real laughter. And that real laughter is going to help cue your body like, oh, I'm safe. Like I don't have to be scared anymore. I can let go of these things. Affection affection is a really specific one, because what affection means is it can't just be, in the book, they're really specific, and this is all research based, so I trust them, is the ways they say affection is a 6-second kiss. So what that means is kissing your partner for 6 seconds. And 6 seconds, because 6 seconds is too long to be kissing somebody that you don't feel safe with. And try it. Like, if you have somebody safe to kiss that you love and care for, you have a partner or something like that, 6 seconds is a long time. Like, it, unless you're like intentionally doing it, you're like, oh, and it gives you time to really like let go and like be in that moment. The other one is a 20 to 30-second hug. And this hug has to be you both holding your own body weight. This can't be like the person holding you completely, and it can't be you holding them completely. It's two humans holding their own body weight and embracing each other for 20 to 30 seconds. And again, that's based on, that is too long to be hugging somebody and to not feel safe with them. And that safety allows your entire body to relax. And it allows like that nervous system. What we're trying to do is stop that neurological response that's going on. We're trying to calm the nervous system. So that hug will do that. A big cry. This is a great one. I mentioned it earlier with kids. They just cry it out, and then two minutes later, they're totally fine. I love a good cry. Just did it last weekend. How to just cry for a while. And I think we probably all can relate. But crying is a really great way. It also doesn't have to be in relation to the thing that you're stressed out about. Remember, they don't have to coincide. You're talking about our neurological body. We're not talking about fixing all the boundaries and all the stressors. We can't fix all of the stressors in one swipe of the marker or the paintbrush or whatever. It's just too hard. And they're just too set in stone. And there's a lot that we don't get to control in our stressors. That's a bigger project that we can work together, and I can work with you to do that. And we're trying to fix the neurological response first off. So that cry, for me, it's The Notebook. The Notebook makes me cry every time. It's just so sad. Oh my God. I love that movie. Whatever movie is your movie that helps you cry, watch that movie, and that big cry is going to help you in completing your stress cycle, which I kind of love, that it doesn't have to be in relation to the thing. You don't have to like be crying about your work project, but you could be crying about something else, and it helps. And the last one is creative expression. It's gonna be playing music. It's gonna be creating pottery. It's gonna be painting, drawing, any like stacking rocks in an artistic way. But I actually really love this one. I think it's like a really pleasant way to end a day. It's just like painting nothing, painting something. But either way, just any sort of creative expression. This can be, playing music, anything along those lines. And the first thing that I have on here is getting outside. We're going to go, I think the next slide is about getting outside a little bit more. Yeah. So as far as those 7 things go, do you guys have any questions about completing our stress cycle? I'm going to go more in depth about how nature plays into this in just a second. But what questions come up in regards to completing our stress cycle? Anybody? Cool. If anything comes up, put it in the chat and we'll, chat about it. So why is getting outside helpful? Why do I preach get outside? Why am I all about that? Because it's not one of the main 7 ways. But if we do any of those 7 things outside, our brain is naturally going to feel more relaxed. And this has to do with what is called directed attention. Directed attention plays a prominent role in successful cognitive and emotional functioning. This is all like kind of science-y because it's all research based, but directed attention is what we are using every single day to get shit done. Lack of better words, sorry. But this is like the list of things that you're working on every single day. You're slowly using your directed attention to get these things done. It gets depleted even faster when we're writing an email and then something dings and then we have to do something over here. And it's meant to keep us alive. Because if you think about it in the sense that if you're in a city walking down the street, you have to be able to pay attention to what's in front of you so you don't fall. You also have to pay attention to the cars that are on the side so you don't get hit. You have to pay attention to the blinking billboard because that's what its job is to get your attention. And then you have to bring your attention back. So we're doing all these different things. And what that is that's really exhausting for our brains. Over time, think about it. I mean, I have a water situation on the screen for this purpose. Think about it like a glass of water, and you only have so much directed attention through a day. And throughout the day, your directed attention is naturally going to lessen. That's why around 2 or 3 o'clock, it's usually harder to pay attention to whatever you're supposed to be doing. Can anybody relate to that? You're like, usually we like grab a second cup of coffee or something along those lines. But sorry, gotta drink my water. But with the directed attention is it needs to be replenished. It doesn't just replenish like by us hoping or wishing, and by continuing to work, it usually makes it worse. And one of the easiest and most effective ways to replenish our directed attention and get ourselves back in that creative mind, back away from that exhausted brain feeling, is to spend 60 minutes outside. 30 to 60 minutes. That's why I say 30 to 60, because sometimes 60 is like pretty daunting and it feels really hard. But if we can like turn our phone off, leave it somewhere, or at least turn it on silent, or not have to manage that as well. Going on a walk in nature, somewhere where you feel safe. Obviously, if the place that you're walking is stressful, that's not helpful. If you're like managing natural risks or something like that, that's not helpful. But being in nature will, try it. I swear, just try it. It will replenish your directed attention. You will come back to work being able to work harder. You will be able to get more done. You won't have to like think so hard to write that email or like your proposal or whatever you're working on. Like you're like trying to get this thing done in like 20 minutes and it's taking you 60 minutes to do something that shouldn't take you that long. But it is because your directed attention is exhausted. And that's just your brain. You don't get to control how your brain is. Like your brain is, sorry to say, you guys, but your brain is not that different from one another's. Our brains need to have our like directed attention replenished. So getting outside is one of the most effective ways. Also sleeping, that every day we get a reset, thank God. But if you're getting bad sleep, that might be a big reason why we don't function as well. And then breathing exercises as well. It's an effective way to replenish our directed attention. Okay, so we've gone over directed attention, we've gone over stress and stressors and stress cycles. Right here, we're gonna make a plan. And each of you guys can write this down or maybe even screenshot this page. But let's take like 3 minutes here to do this. So the plan and hope is completing your stress cycle to get your brain out of here and now thinking so that we can feel less stressed, less burnt out. I like to start off with every person that I work with is trying to create a simple daily habit. And this daily habit is ideally in support of ourselves in the greater things that we want to do. And as we slowly integrate and sustain new habits, these support our boundaries. This is a boundary that you're creating with yourself that you can easily achieve, and you can also check off, and it allows us to feel better. It also is then ideally in support of you completing your stress cycle in some way or another. If you think of all of the things that we stress about, sometimes I like get minorly stressed about what I'm going to eat for breakfast. And if I just decide that for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to eat a smoothie for breakfast, I don't even have to think about it. And I just wake up and I do it. And that's my habit. Waking up on my first alarm, I've used that as a daily habit. But let's have everybody here come up with a simple daily habit that you can put in place in your life to help supporting yourself on your own stress and your own burnout. These are some examples on the screen right here. I don't know if you can you see my pointer? I never know. Yes, cool, great. So everybody, these are examples of a simple habit that can then be in support of you. But everybody here, take a few minutes and I will play some music because I learned how to do that today. And come up with a simple habit that you can do to support yourself. And be specific. So meal planning is good, and be more specific. Be like, how many meal plans do I want to do and how long do I want to do this for? Can be helpful for making something big feel smaller. Because meal planning itself can feel like a really big task. I think maybe not for you. Also go on your own life, but try not to make it such like a big thing. Let's make it like, I'm going to meal plan these things and I'm going to do this task. And once you've thought of your thing, type it in the chat. I really like these ones, you guys. I'm going to start chatting about them because I just think they're great. I like how specific they are. Yeah, deciding on dinner is very stressful. That's an amazing one. It's so good. And even something with the sleep thing is I've done waking up on my first alarm, which is sometimes the hardest freaking thing. Practicing yoga for 1 hour every day, journal a minimum of 10 minutes every day. Awesome. Or even like journal, if that feels super doable, do that. But I'll even do like journal about a question or just write something for a short period, because 10 minutes is kind of a long time to be writing. But if that's super normal for you, do that. That's awesome. And keep these habits simple, because the simpler and the easier they are, then we can put more habits in. The human does not do very well with really big changes. As we all know and have all experienced, it's really hard and scary to do big changes. And maybe we'll succeed for like a week, but after a week, we start to kind of dwindle off, and it's really hard to sustain our habits. A really wonderful example of this, of why it's so hard to continue to do self-care when our life is stressful, is when you paint this is like an example or a metaphor, is when you paint the dirtiest wall in a room white, or when you repaint a new wall, it only makes the other walls look dirtier. So if it was the dirtiest wall and you paint it, it only makes the rest of those walls look even dirtier. So that's why we get burnt out on self-care practices. That's why when we're like trying to do something, all of a sudden, like we just fall off the wagon and we really struggle to stay up on those. And that's why these habits are really important to like start off small. We'll start small and then we work up to it over time. What do we got next here? Cool. This kind of goes into what the online course is about. The daily habits thing is one of my favorite things to do because it's super effective and really simple. The online course is 6 weeks of a deep dive with journal prompts that are also based in teaching therapeutic skills. I have a lesson every single week, as well as we do one-on-one coaching calls. So you and I would then get on the phone, we would chat, usually it's Zoom, but we get on a Zoom and we chat about what's actually affecting your life right now and today. There's guided meditations and visualizations, as well as wilderness skills that are taught in this course, because obviously I'm a nature lover and I'm obsessed with using the outdoors to help us heal our burnout because it's really effective. And I use the wilderness skills as a comparison. When we have skills for life or whatever, when we're learning something that's like a hard skill, it's like cooking in the wilderness. When we fail at cooking in the wilderness, we like, it sucks, and then we move on. when we fail at something at work, we tend to beat ourselves up about that forever and we can't move on. But when we can kind of relate these emotional skills to a tactical skill and realize how similar they are and how important they both are, then we can kind of like move forward and let go. We can kind of let go of the emotional experience a little bit easier. At least I have found with a lot of different folks that is really helpful. And everybody who is on this recording and everybody who's on here live gets a $50 discount on that course. And all of this information is going to be sent to you via an email afterwards. So don't worry about like stressing out about all the things. But yeah, a $50 discount for everybody there. And the next way that we support folks is through solitude. So all that we've learned about completing our stress cycle, all that we have learned about the difference between men and women's stress and our stress and everything is we can complete our stress cycle every day, and that's really helpful. And sometimes we need a break. If you find yourself at that point where you're like, I just can't do it. I just need time. I can't even think. I can't even get away from it. And that is often due to like chronic stress. And a lot of us have it. And a lot of us are even just having a hard time with something in our lives. And what this event is, it's a 3-day event based out here in Southern Utah, and it's a full digital detox. I bet every single one of you guys can raise your hand and say that your phone or your being on your technology has had some effect to your stress, because it is. And it's addictive, and it's supposed to be like, that's part of the whole game plan of what technology is. But using a full digital detox to start off the entire trip is incredibly effective way of really stepping into something new and really being able to step into ourselves and listen to like our quiet voice is something that I talk about. It's a small group of women. It's based around community, and this is meant to allow everybody to be seen and heard fully. We go into therapeutic groups, we go into wilderness skills, we teach you everything you need to know. And the entire event is based around a 24 to 30 hours that you are spending in the wilderness alone. That time is completely for you. All your safety is taken care of, all of your food is taken care of. We provide all of the gear that you need. Everything is completely easy and super simplified. It's as simplified as it possibly could be for you. And you are out there and you finally have time. You're not going to be interrupted by anything. And you just get to be. And it's amazing what happens in that space. And like I mentioned, it's all inclusive. We provide everything, because planning a trip is one of the main ways women, we love to stress ourselves out, because if we're going to plan a trip, it's going to be the best trip that's ever been planned. That vacation can be the best vacation that my kids have ever been on. It's going to be the best vacation I've ever been on. And then we like stress ourselves out about planning the thing that's supposed to de-stress us, and it's a full cycle. So we take care of everything. You show up with some clothes and a water bottle, you're good to go. And everybody who's on this call gets a $495 discount on that course. That the 3-day event is valued at $29.95, and everybody here does get that discount. It's an incredible way to support you guys getting out here. And again, a quick reminder to everybody that you all have a free grounding call, and all of that information for signing up will be sent to your email. And since you are all signed up through the Eventbrite world, it'll make sense, and I'll send you a follow-up email through there. What else do we have? The last thing is questions. I would love to know any questions, comments, concerns, things that you guys have about the event, about stress or stressors, about your burnout. And if it's not coming to you right now, feel free to send me an email or follow me on Instagram and send it to me in a DM or on Facebook, anything along those lines. And I love to help y'all out there. So with all of that, follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm on TikTok too. I have that on there. We're getting better at TikTok. It's getting better. But all of the things. And send me any follow-up questions. Does anybody have anything else I want to say? I'm actually on time. I always struggle to stay on time. Comments, questions, concerns, things that you would love to hear, or have any further questions about stress or stressors? Feel free to put them in the chat. Cool. Oh, thank you so much. The phone stress was new to me. Yeah. When I learned about the stress cycle, it truly blew my mind. I was like, how do we all not know about this? It'll literally save our lives because our stress cycle is really important. Amazing. So everybody feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. I would love to support you guys if you have anything that comes up. So amazing. I'll hang out here for a minute, and if you're done, feel free to head out. I'm going to send everything to you in a follow-up email. And I'm excited to hear from all of you guys. I'm excited to hear you guys in the follow-up email. I want to hear how your daily habit is going. So reply to me there, and I would love to hear how that's been going, especially anybody who is not here live and you're getting the recording. Let me know what daily habit you chose, and let's hear about it. You're so welcome, everybody.